What if I told you that the most successful people on the planet don't actually work harder than you? They just start differently. One decision, 1 hour, one formula that changes everything that comes after it. Think about the last time you woke up late, scrambled for your phone, checked your messages before you even brushed your teeth, and then spent the rest of the day feeling like you were always 2 steps behind. Like the day was controlling you instead of the other way around. That feeling, that low-grade anxiety that sits in your chest from the moment you open your eyes, most people think that's just how mornings feel. They've accepted it, they've normalized it. But what if that feeling isn't inevitable? What if it's just the result of a broken morning? And what if there's a way to fix it in 60 minutes flat? There's a formula. Simple. Almost suspiciously so. It's called the 20-20-20 rule. And once you understand not just what it is, but why it works, why it rewires your brain, resets your body, and rebuilds your identity every single morning, you will never look at 5 a.m. the same way again. Stay with me, because this isn't a productivity hack. This is something deeper. Let's talk about a man named Daniel. 34 years old, mid-level manager at a logistics company in Chicago. By every external measure, Daniel was fine. He had a job, a family, a decent apartment. But inside, he was running on empty. He'd wake up every morning to the sound of his alarm and immediately feel dread. Not about anything specific, just a general, heavy dread. Like the day was a mountain he had to climb, and he hadn't slept enough, and he'd forgotten his shoes. He'd snooze his alarm 2, sometimes 3 times. Then rush through a shower, skip breakfast or grab something meaningless, scroll through his phone in the car, and arrive at work already exhausted. By noon, he was surviving on coffee. By evening, he was too drained to be present with his kids. By night, he'd promised himself tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow never was. This went on for 3 years. 3 years of the same cycle, the same fatigue, the same quiet frustration that he couldn't explain to anyone because from the outside, everything looked fine. Then one night, his daughter, she was 7 at the time, crawled into his lap while he was sitting on the couch, barely there, half watching television, half staring at nothing. And she looked up at him and said, "Daddy, are you happy?" He didn't answer right away, because for a moment the question hit him somewhere he hadn't been hit in a long time. Right in the truth, he wasn't happy. Not really. He was functional. He was surviving. But he wasn't living with any sense of intention or energy or purpose. And his 7-year-old daughter could see it clearly, even when he couldn't. That night, Daniel made a decision. Not a dramatic one. Not a quit your job and move to Bali decision. A quiet one. He was going to wake up at 5 a.m. and he was going to own the first hour of his day before the world could take it from him. He didn't know about any formula yet. He just knew he needed to change the beginning. Because somewhere deep down, he understood that how you start determines how you finish. Now here's where the science gets fascinating. And I want you to really hear this, because it explains everything. In the first hour after you wake up, your brain is in a uniquely vulnerable and powerful state. Your cortisol levels naturally spike in the morning. This is called the cortisol awakening response. And it's your body's built-in alarm system, designed to give you energy, focus, and alertness. For most of human history, that spike was channeled into purposeful activity, movement, preparation, intention. But what happens when you wake up and immediately reach for your phone? You hijack that spike. You flood your brain with information, emails, news, social media, notifications, before it's had a chance to orient itself around your own goals and values. You essentially hand the steering wheel of your mind over to everyone else's agenda, and then you spend the rest of the day trying to get it back. Robin Sharma, the leadership expert who developed the 5 a.m. club concept, describes it this way. The quality of your mornings determines the quality of your life. That sounds like a bumper sticker until you actually think about the mathematics of it. If you have a powerful, focused, energizing morning, you show up differently to every conversation, every challenge, every opportunity that follows. And if you have a scattered, reactive, rushed morning, you carry that energy into everything too. The 20-20-20 formula is designed to work with your biology, not against it. To use that cortisol spike the way nature intended. Here's how it breaks down. The first 20 minutes are for movement, not a marathon, not a gym session that requires preparation and motivation and a pre-workout. Just 20 minutes of physical activity that raises your heart rate. A brisk walk, jumping jacks, a quick run around the block, yoga, whatever gets your blood moving. Why does this matter? Because exercise, even brief, moderate exercise, triggers the release of a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Scientists sometimes call it miracle grow for the brain. It accelerates the growth of new neural connections, enhances learning, sharpens focus, and critically, it reduces anxiety. Within 20 minutes of physical movement, your brain literally becomes more capable of handling stress and making clear decisions. You're not just warming up your body, you're upgrading your mind. Daniel started with a walk. Just 20 minutes around his neighborhood before the city woke up. The first morning, it was cold and dark, and he almost turned back after 5 minutes, but he didn't. And when he came home, something had shifted. Not dramatically, but enough. The second 20 minutes are for reflection. This is where most people skip straight to doing and miss the most important part. Reflection means journaling, meditation, prayer, gratitude practice. Any quiet, inward activity that connects you to your own thoughts, intentions, and emotions before the noise of the day begins. Here's the psychological insight that matters. Most people move through their entire lives on autopilot, reacting to external circumstances without ever pausing to ask what they actually want, what they actually feel, what actually matters to them. Reflection interrupts that autopilot. Even 20 minutes of quiet, intentional thought gives you something extraordinarily rare in the modern world: clarity. When Daniel started journaling during this window, he wrote the same thing for the first few days. I don't know what I'm doing. That sounds bleak, but it was actually the most honest thing he'd written in years. And from that honesty, questions started to form. What do I want my life to look like? What kind of father do I want to be? What am I actually afraid of? You can't solve problems you haven't named. Reflection names them. The third 20 minutes are for learning. A book, a podcast, an online course, a documentary. Something that feeds your mind with knowledge, perspective, or skill. Specifically in an area connected to your growth, your career, your goals, or your inner life. Jim Rohn used to say that formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. And while that's literally true for many people, the deeper point is this. The person who reads for 20 minutes every morning for 5 years has consumed hundreds of books. They think differently. They see patterns others can't see. They have resources, mental and emotional, that others simply don't have access to, not because they're smarter, but because they invested the time. 20 minutes a day, 60 books a year. That's the math. That's the edge. By week 3, Daniel noticed something he hadn't expected. He wasn't just more productive at work. He was more present at home. He was listening better, laughing more easily. He had, and this is the word he used when he told me this story, he had margin, emotional margin, a sense of spaciousness inside himself that he hadn't felt since his 20s. His wife noticed before he said anything. She told him one evening, "You seem different." And he didn't know how to explain it in a way that made sense. So he just said, "I've been waking up early." But it was never really about waking up early. The hour was just the container. What mattered was what he put inside it. Here's the thing about human nature that most productivity advice gets wrong. Willpower is not the foundation of change. Identity is when you wake up at 5 a.m. and spend an hour investing in your body, your mind, and your spirit every single morning. You don't just become more disciplined. You become someone who sees themselves differently. You become, in your own mind, someone who takes their life seriously, someone who shows up for themselves. And people who see themselves that way make different choices all day long, not because they're trying harder, but because they're operating from a different self-image. This is why the 5 a.m. habit is so powerful compared to other productivity strategies. It doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you believe you are. And the brain, endlessly beautifully adaptable, responds to that belief like a gardener responds to seeds. It grows around it. It builds neural pathways that reinforce the new identity. It starts to crave the morning routine the way it used to crave the snooze button. Daniel told me that by month 2, he was waking up naturally, just before his alarm. Not because he'd become some superhuman, but because his brain had started to associate 5 a.m. with something it wanted: clarity, peace, a moment of ownership before the world came knocking. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I'm not a morning person. I've tried this before and it didn't stick. My schedule doesn't allow it. My kids wake up early. I work night shifts. Fair. All of that is real. But here's what I want to offer you. The 20-20-20 rule is not about the specific hour. It's about the principle. The principle is that before you react to the world, you invest in yourself. Before you respond to everyone else's needs, you meet your own. Whether that's at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or, if your life truly requires it, at a different time entirely, the structure holds. Move your body. Reflect on your inner life. Feed your mind 60 minutes, in that order, every day you possibly can. If you can't do 60, do 40. If you can't do 40, do 20. The point is not perfection. The point is direction. Every morning, you choose to invest in yourself before reacting to the world. You are casting a vote for the person you want to become. And over time, those votes add up into a life that looks, and more importantly feels, like the one you actually wanted. Here's something Daniel said to me that I want you to sit with. He said, I used to think I didn't have time in the mornings. But the truth is, I had an hour every morning. I just spent it sleeping off the stress of the day before. And when I stopped doing that, I realized the stress didn't go away. I just stopped letting it rob me of my best hours. That's it. That's the whole thing. The stress doesn't go away. Life doesn't get easier. The inbox doesn't empty. The kids don't stop needing things. The world doesn't slow down to accommodate your growth. But you can choose what you do with the first hour. And that one choice, made consistently, imperfectly, stubbornly, becomes the through line of a different kind of life. Daniel's daughter is 9 now. Last month, he told me she came to him one morning while he was journaling in the kitchen before the house woke up. She sat across from him, pulled out her notebook, the one she uses for drawing, and started sketching quietly beside him. She didn't say anything. She just wanted to be in the room with him. He didn't interrupt her, and she didn't interrupt him. Father and daughter, in the quiet before the world began, each doing something that was just theirs. He said it was one of the most peaceful moments of his life. You won't find that in the snooze button. You won't find it scrolling through your phone before your eyes have even focused. You find it in the stillness you create, deliberately, intentionally, one morning at a time. The 5 a.m. power rule is not a magic solution, but it is a real one. Move, reflect, learn, in that order, for 60 minutes, before the world gets to you. That's it. That simple formula, applied with consistency, has the power to change your mornings. And your mornings, given time, have the power to change your life. Not because early rising is virtuous, but because intentional living is. Because choosing yourself, choosing your growth, your clarity, your peace, before you've given everything to everyone else, is one of the most quietly radical things a person can do. Start tomorrow, not next Monday, not after the holidays, tomorrow. Set the alarm for 1 hour earlier than usual. Don't check your phone. Move your body for 20 minutes. Sit with your thoughts for 20 minutes. Read or listen to something that expands your mind for 20 minutes. And then go live your day. You'll feel the difference. And over time, weeks, months, a year from now, you'll look back and realize that the turning point wasn't a promotion or a lucky break or some dramatic moment of transformation. It was a quiet Tuesday morning when you decided to wake up 1 hour early and give that hour to the version of yourself you're still becoming. That person is waiting for you every morning at 5 a.m. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because somewhere out there, someone is lying in bed, hitting snooze, and maybe this is the thing that changes everything for them.